If you've thought about buying equipment from Atletica, but like me couldn't find any reviews of them online, this video is for you. I'm gonna go over the complete process of me buying a bench and a power rack from them and some accessories, so stay tuned for that. But in case you just want to skip ahead to the conclusion, feel free to do so. The timestamps are in the description. When I started to look at power racks, I ran into several challenges. The first one being the ceiling in my shed. It's 220 at the high end and 180 at the low end, where most power racks I could find were typically between 210 and 220 centimeters in height, so they would not fit in there at all. The second one being that I live in a small country called Denmark. All of the reviews I could find from popular YouTubers were US based, and so the companies didn't ship to Denmark. Now, I know Rep Fitness recently started to expand into Europe and I could order from there, but I didn't know this at the time. So I felt quite lost and ended up falling over Atletica. I'd never heard of the company before, but they seemingly solved all my issues. They had racks in two different heights, one normal sized and one for small ceilings. I was won over and I ended up buying a power rack. I ended up choosing a model called R7 Cage Power Rack. They basically have tiers of power racks and then add-ons where you can just buy a pack of stuff for your power rack. So it's very modular in that regard. The one that I chose is a middle tier, and it comes with premium J-hooks, normal J-hooks, spotter arms, a pull-up bar, dip bars, and a pulley system. I also bought an adjustable bench next to it, which when flat is rated for 450 kilograms. Now, I could probably have done just fine with a cheaper tier, but the reason I kind of like this one is because it can handle so much weight that I can't possibly outgrow it. The tolerances tested on this is just insane. The dip bar is tested for 600 kilograms. The pull-up bar for 800 kilograms. The pulley system for 450 kilograms. The premium J-hooks are drop tested to, I think it was 550 kilograms. And the normal J-hooks for 400 kilograms. So it's just insane. I can't possibly outgrow this. Specifically when I was looking at benches, I had a hard time finding something that was reasonable in price, but also had tolerances that wasn't just 200 or 300 kilograms. I'm a novice lifter. I weigh just around 80 kilograms right now, and my bench PR is 115 kilograms. So 200 kilograms isn't going to cut it. Now, I'm not saying I'm gonna need a 300 kilogram bench just right now, but the main point is stability and safety. I want equipment where I don't have to worry about getting too strong for it or remembering what the tolerances for it is. I just want something that's ridiculously safe. In this regard, I felt like Atletica was way better than most of the other companies I had looked at. So this brings me to the next point of this review, which is the feel of everything. The dip bars when attached to the end here feel super sturdy. I had some parallels that I used previously, but they weren't as sturdy and I couldn't get down low enough when doing weighted dips. I recently did a 1 rep max with 3 plates, and despite my shaking and having the dip bar at the end of the rack, it didn't budge at all. The multi-grip pull-up bar I think is quite standard. It looks like ones I've seen on other racks. There's a few different grips, but for me with the low ceiling I can't really use it properly, so I have these pull-up handles just so I can get a little more range of motion. I could probably use rings as well. There's knurling on the different grips, but not on the fat part or on the front part that you'd use for regular pull-ups. The landmine attachment can be attached here on the bottom part of the rack and can rotate 360 degrees. I have it attached here, and then I can bring my barbell through the rack here to do my T-bar rows. The spot arms feel incredibly solid, way more solid than the spot arms I've used on half racks in commercial gyms. They're also long enough to cover you from the other side. The only downside is because of their size, they're too big to attach low, and because of this they can't be used for rack pulls below the knee. Now, you can buy some safety straps instead for that purpose though, but again, they feel really solid and there's rubber on them, so even if you drop your bar on it, there should be no issues. The premium J-hooks feel really nice. They lock into place from both angles and feel sturdy. Because of this, I always use them when benching, whereas the normal J-hooks are just what you'd expect and see in commercial gyms. Very standard, but they get the job done, and having an extra pair is nice when switching between exercises. Now for the pulley. This one is hard to review because on one hand, it's not as nice as a cable machine in a gym. On the other hand, I wouldn't expect it to be for the price you pay. It's using plastic wheels which can be upgraded to aluminium for an extra cost, which might be worth it for some people, but I don't think it's at all necessary. The whole extra price for the pulley is not bad compared to getting a standalone cable setup, and it definitely doesn't feel bad at all. It works just as intended, and I doubt people would buy this and be dissatisfied with it. Myself, I'm extremely happy with it, and it comes with a little chain, a straight bar, and a pull-down bar. The chain makes it easy to use for more than just rows and pull-downs. I use it for tricep pushdowns and cable curls as well. The base rack itself is sturdy. It was already stable before adding the pulley, but having that extra part on just adds a little extra because it has an extra rubber foot. It really does feel like premium quality, at least way better than the half racks I've typically seen in gyms. Unlike the lower tier, it has holes on all 4 sides and it's a standard 75mm, which means you're not limited to buying equipment from Atletica. The whole assembly was surprisingly easy. I think it took like 2 or 3 hours, maybe tops. The only part that I actually had issues with was the pulley system. There's only like 2 small images for this, and they're very much not clear, at least in my opinion. Luckily, my wife is smarter than me, and she solved it very easily. So with her help, I got the job done. I did end up over-tightening a nut on the lat pull-down though. So when I used it the first time, there was a rubber part which was supposed to be rolling, which was then stuck, and so I ended up ruining the rubber on this part. But it didn't end up being an issue. I just removed it altogether, and I've had no issues with it ever. The delivery company delivered everything to my cornerstone and not in my courtyard, so I was a bit afraid when I knew it was such a big order, and it did end up coming on one single pallet, but all of the boxes were small sizes, so I could easily carry them over to my shed and had no issues with it at all. That's not to say that if I did have any issues that it would be the delivery driver's fault. Not at all. I knew it would be delivered that way. Now, in conclusion, I had a really great experience. I felt like I got what I paid for and more. It felt like really good quality, especially for the price that I paid for it. It feels better than what I've seen in commercial gyms at least, and I really love the stuff. So I'll definitely be buying from them again. Now, I did have a few questions before I ended up buying, and I contacted their support and got a quick and helpful answer. So I don't have any issues at all. The shipment even came 5 days before it was supposed to. So I hope if you had any doubts or questions that this has helped. If you do have any more questions, feel free to put them down below. This video is not sponsored or anything at all. This is just what I've experienced.